Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and my main man,
JC.
John Coleman.
Yo, what's poppin'?
Yo, I just noticed that your shirt is Madden 25.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you getting some of the freshest gear coming out of EA Sports when your ass hasn't worked there in 5 years? You know people, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
You know people.
I do know people.
Well, guess what? Today the people are going to get to know us.
I hope not.
What do you mean you hope not?
Don't ask me. You know how I feel about people, especially strangers.
Well, I'm coming correct with some questions from strangers.
Okay.
You and I have been fielding these questions for the past 2-3 weeks now.
3 minutes.
And we are going to answer them. Like, this is one of my favorite episodes to do. We don't do it often enough. I think back in the day we called it potpourri. Yeah, go ahead.
It was potpourri because we didn't have to prepare.
Yeah, well, it's potpourri also because it's anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my favorite category in Jeopardy was potpourri because anything goes. So today's an anything goes, but it's not anything because we are taking viewer and listener questions.
How do you like the shower now that you've lived with it for 2 weeks?
I hate it. If you're referencing that episode we did a couple weeks ago where I talked about getting my new shower, I still hate it. And here's the reason why. The shower pressure sucks.
Oh, low pressure?
I know how to fix it, but I have to be able to take the shower head off.
I'm out.
However the plumber got that thing on there.
Calibrated.
Dude, I started wrenching that thing and I was like making the wall spin. I was turning it so hard. So once I can get the shower head off, I can take that stupid environmental safety screen out of it. Then I'll at least like my shower better. But no, I am not enjoying squeegeeing and wiping down the walls every single time.
Sounds like you have hard water, Dustin. You need to add some rock salt.
It sounds like the LA Fitness is going to get to know me because I'm showering there every morning.
Yo, real talk.
Don't even even if I don't work out.
I've done that before. I've used the facilities like it's my own third bathroom.
I actually do that so truth be told, and one of the questions is going to allude, hey, Dio, what's your daily routine like? What's your schedule like? And I'll let you ask that question later, then I'll give it the real answer. Okay. But because of my routine and because of my schedule, I tend to actually go to the LA Fitness 2 to 3 times a week just to shower because I went to like a public park or I went somewhere to like a cycling studio that doesn't have shower facilities, worked out, and then drove my happy ass to the gym that's closest to the office where I walk in. The lady's always like, yo, have a great workout. I'm like, yeah, okay. Today, yeah. 15 minutes later, I'm walking out there freshly showered, dressed for work.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking about the shower.
Because I care.
Because you care. You do care, John.
I do care about stuff that matters. About, like, I don't know, God knows how much you threw into that shower. But my advice to you, if you're unhappy with the water pressure, Dustin, shell out the extra $500 and get you with the shower head that you deserve and want.
It's not the head. We got a very nice shower head. It's the problem is you can't.
Would you go to use Frank Gay?
I have no
Frank
idea.
Gay Plumbing?
I have no idea.
Shout
who
out
we
Frank
use.
Gay Plumbing.
Yo, but I can promise you this: it's a top of the line name brand shower head.
Kohler.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is one of those, John. So,
but yeah, that would allude to the first question, Dustin. How do you find time in the day to run a mortgage company, do stuff on this podcast, coach loan originators, be a father, be a husband, and squeegee your bathroom all while training for a triathlon?
Yeah, I love that question, John. And, truth be told, I don't squeegee. I avoid that bathroom and that shower like the plague. Okay, me and the 15 alligators currently in the pond down the road, that's where I'm bathing, or I'm at the LA Fitness. I get that question a lot because for me, it's normal. Like for me, it is as normal comes. But I think it's, if I go back to being conditioned over the past 35 years, I only know how to operate within this particular schedule. There's 24 hours in the day, of which point I need to sleep 8. Sometimes I don't get 8. Sometimes I get 6. So of those 16 to 18 hours, I try to get the most amount accomplished and done. And I think it is because I truly do love life. Building and running businesses has become a hobby. Like I enjoy it. There's no part of that where I'm like, damn, this is work. Like in high school, I remember sitting in class, watching the clock tick, right? Because that was nowhere where I wanted to be. I remember having jobs, Eckerd Pharmacy.
Shout out Eckerd Pharmacy. Wow.
And working the cash register, and literally the time could not go fast enough. My feet were on fire. But throughout my young adult life into my adult life, I go back, in high school. And by the way, parents who are tuning in, this may be something that you want to get your kids to follow in. I played 2 varsity sports. I took a full course load and I worked part-time. I've only known school, work, and sport since I was 12, meaning I was working concession stands at the baseball field. I was mowing lawns in the neighborhood. I was playing my 2 to 3 sports a year, plus I was going to school and getting good grades. So I've known that. So I talk about being conditioned. So I knew that middle school. I knew that high school. When I get to college, well, I don't have the sport anymore. So I went from working 16 hours to 32 hours. I've always been an active social life person. I did my coursework, but then I started interning. So I was working for free. I was working for pay. I was going to school, and I was also maintaining my relationships with my childhood friends, my girlfriend, etc. Then I graduate from college and I get a full-time job. That full-time job back then, shout out to Blair Television, 35 hours a week. 35 hours a week, and I think it was $12 an hour. But 5 hours guaranteed overtime, because it wasn't technically overtime, right? It was just I could do an extra hour a day to get to my 40 hours, so I did that. But then I was like, what else am I going to do? So I went and got a part-time job and started valeting cars. So like, I look at my schedule today and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's all I know. And it's why I'm super proud that I have a 19-year-old who played varsity sports, who took honors and AP classes, and also worked a part-time job. He didn't work a part-time job because mom and dad couldn't give him money, or couldn't give him spending money, or he had to provide for the family. I'm like, no, he did it because I wanted him to also utilize his time to the fullest. So when I wake up every single day, and you're asking the question because a listener wanted to know, I have a zest for life. I like to build things. I like to adventure. I love to make memories. And I try to keep my days busy, my weeks busy, my months busy. And I always have something I'm looking forward to. And I think it's because that's all I know. Maybe that's how I'm wired. My downtime was 4 or 5 times a week. I'll lay on the couch and I'll watch 1 to 2 hours of TV shows. That's my downtime. My downtime could be during football season. I'll lay on the couch and watch maybe 3 hours of football.
You're not watching the UFL?
No, dude, I do not watch UFL. But that would be, I don't know of a better way to answer it, because this is what I know.
You've just been conditioned since birth. That's what I heard.
Well, yes, but you know what? My parents didn't mandate it. It was just, I think I found things that I enjoyed. I'm like, let's do more of this.
So did you have like a great grandfather, like Obadiah back in like the 1800s, who like worked hard? Is like, oh yeah, you remind me of your great uncle Sammy James, who like, worked hard, and like, that's where you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I had amazing parents. They came from good parents, but I don't have any stories that go back where anyone in my family was self-made. Yeah. My parents. My parents are the closest, right? My mom drove a school bus for 35 years, retired as a school bus driver. My dad was an electrician for 45, 50 years. By the time he retired, he went from digging ditches to like managing projects. But, you know, they didn't own their own company. They didn't have like, you know, these fancy, you know, white collar type jobs, very blue collar. Mm-hmm. And they probably, in their families, they kind of were looked up to as, hey, they made it. Like whatever they were able to accomplish, they made it. Mm-hmm. So no, I didn't have necessarily that. Like my dad, here's what happened. If I'm a psychologist, my dad showed love to those who worked really hard. So like I've always wanted people's positive attention. I wanted them to look at me in a positive light and say nice things about me. And I knew early on, if I want to get my dad to look at me in a positive light, I better work hard. I better outwork everybody, right? Because that's his love language. And my mom, I used to listen to her, how she talked about people with money, people with class, people with success. And she never said this. And I was too young, but I was impressionable that I just like, oh, wow. Like if I want my mom to look at me positively, I need to look good. I need to sound good. I need to also be that guy or that girl who who has nice things, who's doing fancy things because they're successful. So I think there's a combination of that with my own genetic disposition of, I probably am shallow. I probably have low self-esteem. And it's because of that, I'm constantly craving the positive. And of course, my parents are two people I look up to and love the most. I'm probably looking at dad saying, I better work hard to impress him. I'm looking at mom, I better be successful to impress her. Neither one of them ever said that, by the way, right? That's what's crazy about raising children, even of my own. I'm looking at, dude, my children, I'm sure I have effed them up 17 ways to Sunday, not intentionally, but just based on how we interact.
Your parents didn't have to tell you. That's when they just locked you in the garage for days out, and you just thought it was normal.
Did that happen? Did you get locked in the garage?
I did once because I came home late drunk, and I shit you not, it was a Saturday. I came home, it was like 2 a.m., maybe 1:30, not even that late, but still I was like 16. And I was drunk, and my mom had actually packed everything for me. She's like, you're not coming back in this house. And I said, what do you mean? And she had the luggage pack, and she made me sleep in the garage, in the car, and then woke me up hours later to go to church. I'll never forget that moment.
I'm very fortunate to say that that never happened to me. I did some bad things, mischievous things, mischievous.
If I got
things.
caught, it was bad, but I didn't get caught.
Mailbox bashing,
throwing
shoplifting, throwing eggs at the cross country team.
Yeah, you did that too?
By the way, if you're going to throw eggs at the cross country team, who, by the way, they were your buddies that were out there running, don't get the cold eggs.
Get them warm.
Cold eggs are like throwing stones, and then when they break, they cut them. Then you get in trouble and get suspended from a baseball game.
I heard the opposite. I heard opportunity, meaning if you want to inflict damage, freeze the eggs. All right, so on to the next question.
Okay.
I have a good one. How does one know when it's time to move on to the next company versus sticking it out?
Opportunity. I mean, look, there's some telltale signs. If your loans aren't getting closed and they're not getting closed on time, that's an issue, right? If you have a manager who isn't investing in you. I'm not saying a manager who goes out and lead generates for you and does your job for you. I mean a manager who's there for you, that has systems and processes that you can tie into, a manager that's conducting branch meetings and weekly trainings, and a manager who is showing you the way. I think that would be a telltale sign. I think also opportunities. There's certain people that are like, look, I am the big fish in a small pond and I'm only doing $1 million a month. I need to go somewhere where $1 million a month is the minimum standard because people are doing $2, $3, $4 million a month. I think there's also opportunities where it's like people are like, look, I want to grow. I want to either become a top producer, and I don't have anyone here who can show me how to do that, or I want to become a producing branch manager, and I don't know if I have that opportunity here. So it's more about who I'm surrounding myself with, and then what opportunities am I going to have 3, 5, 7 years down the road. Obviously, there's an operational component. To me, that's a standard. That's like a realtor saying well, I look for a loan officer who communicates well and gives great pre-approval. So that's a standard. You should have that out of the gate. You should have a mortgage company that has a seamless process to get your loans consistently closed on time. Not that they're not, getting loans closed is tough work. That's why we get paid what we get paid. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But so I'm not saying oh my gosh, I hand in a paper file, close my eyes, and 15 days later, the loan is closed. No, but I'm saying that operationally, they're consistent with getting your loans processed, underwritten, and funded in a timely manner. That's the given. After that would be the next two.
So side question that there are companies out there where that's not the norm?
Believe it or not, there are. Probably less today than there were 3 years ago because we have such an overcapacity, meaning we have way too many people still doing too few loans. Therefore, it's really hard to not close something on time and to consistently close it well. But when I fast forward into 2025 and I start to see the number of home sales tick up, I see rates come down, the number of refinance opportunities come up, that means volume's going to go up. Yes. I think when things get busier, that's when you start to see those fractions. Yeah, those fractions and those fissures.
Right. Okay. Next question. Is this can I do this job part-time?
No. Can we stop right there?
But I get
no. What job? Are you talking about being a mortgage loan originator?
Loan originator. I currently work from home. I saw the opportunity, and I want to see. I have an extra 25 to 30 hours a week. I want to see if I can, get my feet wet originating some loans. What do you think?
Okay. There are outliers. We have a T-Lopper. Shout out, dude. I wish his name would come to the top of my mind, but I'm terrible with names.
Yes.
We do have a T-Lopper who reached out to me and said, Dio, I've been waiting 2 years to send you this message.
Okay. Oh, no shit.
He said, I'm finally going to be leaving my full-time job and going into mortgages full-time because I spent the past 2 years building out my foundation, building out my referral network, gaining a little bit of experience, and I'm now at a point where I can cut it. He's an outlier. So can it be done? Yes. Should it be done? No. Are the odds stacked against you? Hell to the yeah. And if you're going to do it, and I haven't talked to this gentleman yet over the phone, what we can, I'm going to guarantee you he probably worked 2 full-time jobs. Like I worked 2 full-time jobs for 8-9 years. I was a top producer and I was a branch manager. Those are 2 full-time jobs. Now, full-time jobs, they might not be every week 40, 45 hours. Maybe one week I was 32 hours into being a top producer and 28 hours into being a manager. Mm-hmm. Maybe some weeks it was like 40 hours manager, but I only gave 15 hours to being a top producer. They are still 2 full-time jobs. You can work 2 full-time jobs. That is possible. There's enough hours in the day that you could essentially work 36 hours in one job and 36 hours in another. Ask any aspiring attorney or any aspiring medical doctor. They work those types of hours their first probably 5 or 6 years in their careers. You can do it. Rarely is it advisable and rarely does it actually work out. So no, I do not condone it. I do not preach it. I do not teach it. And I would tell you the odds are forever stacked against you.
Damn. I got a good one. When are rates coming down? And is this a good time to buy a house?
Here's the great news. Rates are going to come down according to Logan Motoshami with Housing Wire, their lead analyst. The minute we see the labor market break, and we saw some decent news last week, right? So when this dropped probably a couple weeks ago, we saw some decent news where the labor market is slowing. But ideally, if you see unemployment at 4.3%, that's going to be good for mortgage rates, bad for the U.S. economy, right? Bad for those people who are losing their jobs. When we start to see the number of new jobs being created drop, that's, again, bad for the U.S. economy. That's good for interest rates. I would like to tell you it's going to happen at the end of this year and bleed into next year. But I have no idea. If my crystal ball worked, John,
Fiji,
you and I'd be in Fiji on my yacht right now. Yes, with a helipad on top, and we'd be island hopping. So, but no, I do believe as mortgage loan originators, home buyers, realtors, etc., here we are in May of 2024. Mm-hmm. I do not think we're going to get this big reprieve for the summer home buying season. Therefore, I think summer home buying sales are going to be a little bit lackluster compared to what we thought they could have been. And I think we're going to have to get into September, October, November, maybe even after the election, because every time during election year, nothing happens. Right. Like for whatever weird reason, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. After the election, I think we'll be at a point where we could potentially start seeing some labor market news that is showing a slowing or a breaking labor market. And when that happens, the Federal Reserve will take action. You'll see the rates on the 10-year go down, which then you'll start to see the rates on the 30-year UMBS, which is the mortgage-backed security, go down. Those are your mortgage rates, y'all. So the minute that those rates, those yields start going down, rates go down, I'm thinking best case end of this year, more than likely beginning of next year. But 2025 very well, could be dead wrong here, but very well could be the first year of a nice 3 or 4 year run of Goldilocks. Goldilocks is when everything is just right, with exception, what we don't know, the big unknown, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, the next gen mortgage loan originator in technology. None of us know exactly the benefits that technology is going to bring to the table, nor do we know what the potential negative outcomes that technology could bring. Okay. We just don't know. Right. But
okay, follow-up question to that. Outside of technology, because you can't use that as an answer, what concerns you the most about the future of the mortgage industry?
I don't have any concerns besides technology, because technology is a big unknown. Like, I just don't know. This is my concern regardless of mortgage industry, all industry. I don't know what the robots are going to do, and I don't know how humans are going to act with robots living in their lives. Like, that is what I don't know. But I can't control it. Therefore, I don't worry about it. If I can't control something, I don't worry about it. I can control my attitude and my effort and my actions. Like, those are attitude, effort, actions. Those are things that I can control. So that's what I focus on. But if something were to concern me, like outside of me physically getting some kind of a of a long-term illness, or one of my children or my wife getting a long-term illness, or robots, artificial intelligence, automation, technology, World War III.
Are there any cool new loan products on the horizon that are going to help better me serve my community?
Something that I like right now that my company just rolled out, and we're not the only company who has it, but lender paid buy down. So like we just offered a 1 year buy down that the lender pays for. So if you're a borrower, let's say rates are 7.25%. Well, if you came and got a loan from me today, I can offer you 6.25%. And by the way that this program works, if rates today were 7.25%, this program would probably have your rate be 7.5% in year 2, but 6.5% in year 1. And I could get you in today at 6.5%, and maybe you're fine if rates go to 7.5% next year, or you're going to roll the dice that rates are going to come down. So by the time that you've been in your house for 1 year, there's a good chance that you won't make many payments at 7.5% because you're probably going to be working on your refinance. So that's something that we just rolled out, and that's something that other lenders have. I think it's kind of cool and sexy. I think some of the things that we'll look at, depending on the free market, would be more and more products that are true private label securities. Like when I got into the industry, only like a third of the loans or half of the loans were being delivered to the GSEs, Fannie, Freddie, VA, FHA, whereas today it's 95%. So there used to be a time that private label securities, so private banking firms had their own products, and they competed directly against Fannie and Freddie, FHA, and VA. Like these were still 30-year fixed instruments. They weren't non-QM loans. They were still qualified mortgages. They still utilized some kind of an automated underwriting system. We haven't seen that since the financial collapse of 2008. That would excite me. And I think you could see some of that right now a little bit as it pertains to investment properties and second homes, where you may get a private label security, an investor who looks at what Fannie and Freddie are charging in terms of loan level pricing adjustments on second homes and investment properties, and say, we can do that for cheaper. We can do that just as well as them, but for cheaper, at which point they could start maybe buying the market, and therefore lenders who had access to that investor could offer an interest rate on a second home or an investment property at a lower cost or lower price than what they were getting from Fannie and Freddie. That would be exciting if and when that time ever came. I'm not holding my breath. Hey, John, truth be told, we do have no time left. I have to hop on. Shout out to PJ. I'm doing my first coaching call with PJ.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's what
PJ, I love guys like PJ. He's young, he's hungry, he's aggressive. And he represents the future of the mortgage industry. And so I'm gonna hop on a call with him here. I'm probably already 2 minutes late, but to find a way to wrap it up. So let's do this. Reminder, y'all. This is TLOP. This is the Loan Officer Podcast. If you're a mortgage loan originator and you're tuning in, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go over to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already and subscribe. I need you to go to tloponline.com and sign up for our newsletter. It's free. It comes out every Thursday, and I personally write that shit every single day. If you're a mortgage loan originator, by the way, I don't write it every day. I write it every week.
Thank you.
If you're a mortgage loan originator and you are looking for coaching and sales training, look at what we're doing with the TLOP MLO community. All the details are on the website, tloponline.com. Dollar for dollar, pound for pound, buck for buck. There's nothing that even compares to this in the industry. And then finally, we have these 2 events coming up that we would love to see you. If you are in or around Cedar Rapids, Iowa, May 29th, ArchMI and a few other sponsors are putting on a half-day LO Sales Summit. I'm going to be there. John's going to be there. It's going to be a great event. That is May 29th. All the details are on tloponline.com. And then we still have Mastermind Summit coming up in Las Vegas, June 5th through 7th. The entire TLOP crew is going to be there. It's going to be the biggest LO event of the year. Shout out to Matt Emery and that entire crew. June 5, 6, 7, come party, come network, come learn with us. He's John Coleman. I'm Dustin Owen. That's all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode.